I say it's easy to say that we should be fearless, but I don't think that that's realistic. I think that we all have fears and we all have apprehensions. I think it's better to expect people to manage their fear.
Welcome to the Networking with Michelle podcast, the show dedicated on providing you the how-tos of marketing and networking strategies. Here we believe in the Jim Rohn quote, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Hey everyone, welcome to the Networking with Michelle show. Today's special guest is Gwen Jimmere, CEO of Naturalicious. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Michelle. How are you?
Good. Finally glad to get you on this call, on this interview today, because, big things are popping in your neck of the woods.
Yes.
So, okay. First became aware of you through, once again, Lamar Tyler's Traffic Sales and Profit Facebook group. And then I had a chance to meet you at the conference. You're doing amazing work. You've been featured in so many publications that I read as an African-American woman. And I just really want to talk about your journey. I guess the first question is your career journey. I saw that you worked at Ford Motor Company as the Global Digital Marketing Director. Is that where you got your start?
Basically, I started there. I got hired there right out of graduate school. And so prior to working at Ford, I worked as an editor for a publishing company. And I was very frustrated with that job because I loved it. I've always kind of had a knack and a talent for the English language and just writing and that sort of thing. So I didn't major in that in college. It was just like I needed a job and they were hiring. And so I easily got that job. And so the deal was that once I graduated from grad school, they would then increase my salary. And they did not do that. I was making like $12 an hour. And so now I've graduated from grad school and I'm still making $12 an hour. And I'm like, this sucks. I am clearly worth far more than this. And so I started looking for jobs, and I happened to come across the Ford thing. I did not feel like I qualified, but apparently they did. And they brought me in, flew me out to Detroit, had me go through several rounds of interviews, and I got the job. And what was so interesting about that was that I think what appealed to them, my appeal to them, was that I was so young, and I was maybe like 25, 26 at this point. I was so young, and I had fresh ideas, and I wasn't already jaded by the marketing industry. And so at the time when I was hired in, Ford was going through the downturn of the auto industry that we all remember a few years ago. And they had started trying to utilize social media in a way that would connect them with consumers and help a big brand feel like a small, intimate, personal relationship with each consumer. And this was like 2009. So this was not even 10 years ago. And it's so crazy to think about where we've come as a society in terms of using digital marketing. But at the time, brands weren't using social media for that. They weren't sure how to navigate it, how to utilize it. At that time, social media in terms of Facebook, Instagram wasn't around, but Twitter and Facebook were mostly peer-to-peer communication tools. So you and I would have a conversation as friends, but it would be weird at the time for, say, Coca-Cola to pop up on our timeline and, try to market to us. And so Ford was really a pioneer in that. And so I was a part of that team I led that team basically that did all that. And what was really cool about it was that during my tenure there, we did some amazing things. We did things that are now being utilized in universities and colleges as case studies on how to utilize social media for branding and for marketing. And it was just great. And it definitely helped us when you looked at the market share afterwards. That whole initiative that I led ended up taking us from being kind of looped into the big three to being separated from one of the three U.S. automakers that had taken the buyout, because Ford had not taken the buyout. And so instead of people seeing Ford, Chrysler, and GM, and that was one of our objectives, to make sure that people understood and just didn't say, oh, U.S. automakers. It was like, no. Ford is different. We didn't take the buyout. We're different. So we utilize social media, which, as you know, is a free tool to do that.
So I want to go back a little bit. What, if you can think about, like, what were some of your thoughts? Because what I like about what you said is that you were in grad school. Obviously, we go to school to increase our skills, our experience, and demand more money. But what was that transition like? Like, okay, yes, I'm getting paid $12 an hour. I know I'm worth more than that, but I don't qualify for this job. And usually we don't even like apply, because I think most people would just try to get into, I don't know specifically what you're looking for, but they'll probably try to get into either an entry-level position in a new industry or a mid-level position in a new industry, and not necessarily global or director, especially at such a young age. What are some of the tips you can provide to encourage us, young professionals, when it comes to getting into those management or C-level management positions?
I would say just do it. Just go for it and apply. I honestly applied to a lot of different places, and to be honest, by the time I got the email from Ford, I didn't even remember applying to it. Like, as far as I know, I didn't apply, but apparently I did, because they had my information. And quite honestly, I got an email from the man who ended up being my boss. Never heard of him before. Googled him, found out he was like a rock star in the marketing industry, and he happened to work at Ford. And he emailed me directly and said, hi, got your application, wanted to set up a time for us to meet for this role that you've applied for. And I thought it was spam. I was like, who is this? And so I Googled him. I was like, okay, he seems legit. I had the IT guy at my job at the time. I had him go and check the IP address. I'm like, is this really coming from Ford? And so, because I did not believe it. And so I just went ahead and I went through the interview process, and I interviewed against a lot of people. We had 6 different interviews with, I had an interview with the CEO of the company, the vice president, several of the vice presidents, and I ended up getting the job. And so I say it's easy to say that we should be fearless, but I don't think that that's realistic. I think that we all have fears and we all have apprehensions. I think it's better to expect people to manage their fear, right? Because what's on the other side of fear is usually success. And so the best advice that I can give is to remember that, and this is going to get a little biblical, but the best thing I can say is to remember that he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And so if you are called, it doesn't matter what your credentials are. I mean, I did have a graduate degree. My degree was in communications, but it wasn't in marketing, but it was in communications. And that skill, marketing is all about communications, to be honest. So yes, I was younger. By the time I got there, I was the only Black woman. I was the only Black person. I was the youngest in my department. I was the youngest, and I was the youngest ever to have that high of a position at the company. But I was still there. You know what I'm saying? So I would say just remember that you don't have to have it all. You don't have to have all the answers. I think this goes for entrepreneurship too. You don't have to have all the answers. It's kind of like when you're driving on a dark road in the middle of the night. You have on your headlights, and you can only see so far. But if you can get to the end of where that headlight ends, then your headlight will then move to the next, 50 or 100 feet in front of you. And all you need to be able to see is that 50 or 100 feet in front of you, because you'll figure out what to do next once you get there. You know what I'm saying? So that would be my best advice.
All right. And when did you start with Naturalicious?
I started Naturalicious when I started Naturalicious in 2013. So June of 2013 is when Naturalicious launched. Actually, no, it's not true. March of 2014 is when we launched. June of 2014. June. Blah, blah, blah. March of 2013 is when we launched. June of 2013 is when we were in stores. And I started it completely out of necessity. I never intended it for it to be a business. And then once it did turn into a business, I didn't expect it to be what it is now. So again, just like, following those headlights and just, I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship, to be honest. I was completely green. So, but yeah, that's when I started it.
So prior to 2013, how long were you natural?
Let's see. I became natural when I was pregnant with my son, and he was born in 2011. So I was pregnant like the end of 2010 until I launched in 2013.
So I guess what problems, because, I'm natural and it's been a process, but
sure.
So I guess what were some of the problems that you were coming across buying products and, maybe with stylists and things of that nature?
Sure. Well, I would find at the time that, and again, so much has changed in this short amount of time in this industry, but at the time I would go to the stores and I would look for hair products that were natural, and they would say that they were natural. But if you looked at the ingredient list, you would find very quickly that they weren't. And I was pregnant with my son and had seen the movie Good Hair by Chris Rock. And in the movie, he takes a can of soda, submerges it into a tub of hair relaxer, and the can disintegrates within minutes. And it freaks me out because I'm pregnant and I know that our skin is porous, and anything you put onto your skin can affect what's inside of you, which for me at the time, the concern was my baby. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not the business. I'm not putting stuff on my hair anymore. And it was only supposed to last for 9 months. Like, clearly I didn't care about me. I just cared about the baby. So I was like, once the baby's born, I'll go back and relax my hair again. And I just loved how my hair looked. I loved how it performed. I loved that I very rarely had a bad hair day after that. It was just great. And I decided I was going to create what I couldn't find. Like, I could not find products that were truly natural and actually worked, but also didn't take up my entire day. So it was like, I was looking for all three, right? So that's my problem I was trying to solve. I was like, okay, I find products oftentimes that work really well, but they're full of chemicals. Or I find products that are really natural, but they suck. Or they take my entire time, my entire day. I don't have that kind of time anymore. And so I set out to create a system just for myself that would cut my wash day in half, still allow me to have really amazing hair, but was also chock full of amazing, really good, natural, healthy ingredients. And so since it didn't exist, then I decided I was going to create it.
So where did you start?
My kitchen.
I think about ingredients and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So my mom is she's very into like holistic living and gardening and that sort of stuff. So I would call her and I say, hey mom, I have olive oil in my cabinet and I've also got some coconut oil and I've got, I was just looking through my cabinets to see what I had. And she would say, well, coconut oil does this for your skin and for your hair versus olive oil, which does this. And so I took, all that knowledge, plus again, being kind of immersed in that lifestyle growing up. I knew a lot just from being around her. And so what I didn't already have knowledge of, I called her and she would help me through it. And I thought I was going to emerge from my kitchen maybe like in a week with a good solid plan and like products for myself. It took me like 6 months to come up with something that was really great. But I stuck with it and I came up with what is now my Hello Gorgeous hair care system. And yeah, I mean, it was just supposed to be for me, but my friends started asking me, what was I using? My curls were really defined and beautiful. My hair was really shiny and they wanted to know. And so I told them, I got this little thing that I've been making at my house. I'll give you some. And so I would give it to them. And then they would then use it. And then they started like asking for it all the time. I'm like, look, I can't be like making this stuff pro bono every day for you. Like, you at least got to pay for the cost of it. Right. And so, then they would wear it and then friends of theirs and coworkers would ask them. And so it kind of organically became a business where I had to then put up a website because people wanted to order it. And, So that's kind of how it came to be. And it just kind of organically has grown and grown and grown. And here we are.
At what point did you realize you needed a patent?
I realized it when my mother kept harping on me to get a patent. I really did not think that you could get a patent on hair care products. I had never heard of that or even thought about that. It wasn't on my radar. And she's like, Gwen, I'm telling you, the reason that it was so significant for me is that my mom is not a co-signing parent. Like, she's not the parent to say, oh, my daughter did this and it's so amazing because my daughter did it. Like, my mom will check you real quick and be like, no, baby, that you need to go back to the drawing board on that one, And so, for her to have been such a raving fan of this stuff meant a lot, because she is a harsher critic lovingly, in a loving way, but she's a harsher critic of things than most other people are. And so she was just like, this stuff is freaking phenomenal. Oh my goodness. Like, I love how my hair looks, love how it feels. This is like, I've never used anything like this. This is great. And so she was like, you need to go get a patent on this product. And I was like, Ma, you can't get a patent on hair products. What are you talking about? My mom's like 71. So I'm like, what do you know? You don't know what you're talking about. And so she was like, all right, I'm telling you, you're going to be at home and you're going to be watching TV, twiddling your thumbs, and you're going to see some big brand with your stuff, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it because you didn't protect yourself. And I was like, and she just kept kind of like hounding me about this. And I was like, let me just look up this patent stuff so I can just get her to be quiet, And that was really the motivation in the beginning. And then I started to find out that you could actually get a patent on this stuff. But it was going to cost me about $20,000, which I was at this point now a single mother. I have gotten divorced. My son was about 2 years old at this point. And I didn't have $20,000 to gamble on, because once you apply for the patent and you pay the attorney, if you don't actually get that patent, you don't get your money back. So I was like, I can't, no. So I'm also at this point, I've been laid off from my job. So I'm a single mother. I have very limited income because by the time I had moved on from Ford, I was working at an agency, a marketing agency. The agency got bought by a different company, and then they laid off all their old people, brought in new people. So I had been laid off, and I'm a single mother, extremely limited income. I don't have $20,000 to spend on this. So I started to research how I could do it myself. And I realized that you didn't actually need to have an attorney, but if you weren't going to spend the money on an attorney, you definitely still needed to learn the law. So I took it upon myself to practice as if I were back in school. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I went to the library from 10 to 2 and I studied patent law. I studied the history of the law. I studied what had changed since President Obama had gotten into office and the changes that he made to the law. I studied the legislation that was on the books to potentially change in the future, like everything you could imagine about patent law. I studied. I became so familiar with the librarians that they would know that I was coming. And if I didn't come on a certain day, they were like, where were you yesterday? Or whatever. Luckily there's the first patent office, satellite office is here in Detroit. And so I was able to go there, and although they can't tell you what to do, they can lead you in the right direction. So I was able to go there and just glean a lot of information and just really, really study up. It was literally like I was in law school for patent law. And so after about 8 months of this, I felt comfortable enough to go ahead and apply. And so I applied, and about 15 months after that, I then got the patents. I actually got a phone call from the patent office telling me they were going to grant the patent for me. And they had a couple questions, and that was it. And so that's how it came to be. It was all from my mother getting on my nerves.
Now, did the office tell you that you were the first Black woman to hold a patent?
Yes.
Okay.
So the office has I don't know what they actually call it, what the actual name of it is, but it's like a historical thing, like department or whatever. And so that's how they're able to tell people, who was the first person to patent X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. Or, Garrett A. Morgan was the first person to create a stoplight or whatever, that kind of thing. And so they informed me that I was actually, when I talked to the patent reviewer who was approving my patent application, he's like, I think you might be the first Black woman to do this. I'm not sure. Let me check. And so I was like, all right. And so I was like, there's no way, because by this time it's 2015. I'm like, it's 2015. Like, people have been making hair products forever. I'm sure Madam C.J. Walker had a patent on some hair products. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure Lisa Price has a patent on some, there was like no way that little old Gwen Jimmere with a single mom in her kitchen was about to be the first person to patent this. And so he came back a little while later and was like, yep, I talked to the office and they've done their research. This was like a few weeks later. He's like, I've done their research and looked at everything, and there's no one else that has patented a natural hair care product that's, an African-American woman. So it's like, wow, really? Like, that's crazy to me. And so I was just as shocked as everybody else, when the news kind of broke. And, but it was something I was obviously really proud of, really honored to be the first to do that. I don't aspire to be the only person. I definitely hope that what I've done inspires other people to realize that you need to protect yourself and to also understand the economic implications of patenting your idea and how it's one of those things that can last for generations, if you do it right. So.
I want to go back to when you stated that your friends were buying your products and it grew organically. Did you realize that you were creating a community at that point? I know you had got your website up, but was it just to buy the products, or were you thinking about how can I support all of these other natural hair women?
It was really just to sell the products. I hadn't got to the point yet where I was intentionally building community. Now I definitely do. But at the time I wasn't. It was just like, hey, I need to sell these hair products and I can't always be on call every time somebody needs to call me to place an order. And so it was just me trying to make my life easier. But inadvertently I did, because I realized that there was so much, well, at the time there wasn't that much information available on hair, on natural hair, for example. There were a decent amount of hair products, but not a ton. Now there's it's ridiculous, right? It's like, I feel like at the time, Black women were just excited for something to be available for them. And now it's like there's so much available for them that they've got like analysis paralysis. Like, they don't know what to pick, right? And now I find that because there is so much available and there's so many different products, and so like every corner of the internet has something about Black hair, natural hair, what have you. Problem is, though, that we've got all this information and we've got all these products, but yet and still we don't know what to do with our hair, which is crazy to me, right? And I don't think anybody had really tapped into that. So it's like, okay, great, I've got these products to sell, cool. People automatically at this point, they go into the purchase decision with a jaded perspective. Like they're skeptical out the gate, right? Because it's like, okay, here's another product that's selling me snake oil that's going to take all my money and it's going to suck and I'm going to be stuck with this product, right? And so it's like, how do I solve that pain? Because for me at this point, my objective is to enlighten and teach, right? And then if my products can be the tool to help you achieve what you want to after you've learned what I've taught you, that's phenomenal for me, right? And And so that has served us as a very good approach because again, there's so many different products available and it's hard to kind of stand out unless you are someone with an enormous budget. The person with the biggest budget tends to win, right? So it's like, how do you win if you're not that person with the biggest budget? And so for me, it's about solving the problem and then utilizing my products as the tool to solve that problem.
I love it. So you did a collaboration with Derek Jackson. How did that come about?
We had a mutual friend who introduced us, and Derek and I got on the phone. He was like, "Hey, I love what you're doing. I love that you've gotten this patent and you're great." And I was like, "Yeah, I love what you do. I love, how you inspire and encourage Black women." And we were like, we should do something together. And I said, "Hey, I'm trying to work on a body care line. I think it would be really cool if you were, kind of like the face of that." And we agreed that would make a lot of sense. Women find him extremely attractive, and the body butter it kind of has like a very sensual sort of nature to it. So it's a little sexiness underlying in there that we were promoting. And we decided that we were going to do this, just for the launch of the product. And we did. And it was super successful in the first, I'm going to say the first month. The first 3 weeks we had sold 1,000 jars of it online. And so it was a great collaboration. He was great to work with. And so, yeah, I had a great time with that. We did a couple of events, one in Atlanta, one in Detroit, sold out within days for each one. So it was great.
Okay. Yeah. So what role has the city of Detroit played when it comes to your success or challenges with your company?
Well, Detroit is a very interesting place to be right now because it is experiencing a resurgence, and the resurgence is in entrepreneurship. Now, there's kind of a good side and bad side of that. So the good side is that people are literally coming to Detroit from Silicon Valley, Seattle, Europe, overseas. Like they're literally moving here to start their companies. The city of Detroit provides a lot of resources, a lot of money, a lot of things, very low cost of living. The traffic is awesome for the most part. So unlike Atlanta, what I mean? Like we're like, it doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. on a Saturday, it's going to be crazy traffic, So you're dealing with that. Or if you're in Silicon Valley where the cost of living is really, really high, but you've got all the resources you need, it's like here you have everything that you need without a lot of the cons that come with that. So that's a good thing. The bad thing about it is that because, like the young, white males, who are typically, like the stereotypical quote unquote founders of companies are moving in, there's a lot of gentrification happening in the city. So you see a lot of people who are older, Black, who have lived in their apartments for, 30 years being pushed out because they can no longer afford the rent. They're building up downtown Detroit. It's beautiful. But again, these people who have lived in this place forever are finding that they can no longer afford it. So there's pros and cons to it. For me as a business owner, it's been very positive. There's a lot of attention on Detroit. And I'm kind of ingrained into the ecosystem of like who to know in the city. And so a lot of like the media that comes through, they'll like send it over to me. And that's been great, for obviously nationalizing my brand. I had an opportunity to do a whole podcast with slate.com, which had like a huge amount of views, and attention on it. I was on the Harry Connick Jr. show, which was awesome. He was so great and extremely handsome in person. I mean, he's great on TV, but it's like you see him in person, you're like, damn, it's a whole different story. But he was great. I was in the Financial Times, which is the UK's largest like financial publication. So think of it kind of like, I don't know, like Forbes for the UK. And so there's a lot of interest. Like you see all these people from Europe and Australia and stuff coming to Detroit, just trying to find out what's going on here. So it's been great. I mean, I am very lucky to be, like I said, in that ecosystem where like the folks who, like the powers that be, I guess, kind of know me and kind of, they want to see me win. And the nice thing about Detroit too is that I feel like everybody kind of wants everybody to win. Like you want people to win because they're in Detroit. It's like if you win and if you win and you're in Detroit, then I win because I'm in Detroit too. And so that whole, I'm sure you've seen the shirts that say Detroit versus everybody. And that's so true. Like, it's kind of like we're all like, we're in this, it's just us. And people doubt us and they clown us because we're Detroit and the city went down. And people always talk about the bankruptcy thing, but it's like us against the world. And so I find it to be a great place to have a business.
Do you think the challenge of entrepreneurship is something all women should attempt at some point in their life, especially, here in the U.S.?
No, I don't think entrepreneurship is for everybody. I think that it's okay if you are someone who likes the idea of having a regular 9 to 5 with a regular every 2 week paycheck. I think that's fine. I mean, I don't think that you should feel pressure to be an entrepreneur just because it's trendy right now. But if you are someone who has the desire and the passion and the drive to be self-motivated and to understand that, the lifestyle they show on TV of entrepreneurship is not reality all the time. More than likely is not reality for most people. And that you are a risk taker because, on TV, they always show, the lifestyle of like, coming and going as you please and doing whatever you want and not having to work for anybody. But I mean, you still work for somebody. Like I work for my customers. They're my boss. And you always have a boss. If somebody's paying you, you always have a boss. And so, also you have to understand that there are going to be times, unless you are a trust fund baby or you've got a large reserve in, just waiting for you, there are going to be times where you have to make a decision between a major bill that you got to pay and supplies for your company. It just is what it is. And that's not something that's ever talked about, which I find to be a huge disservice to people who go into entrepreneurship because they're shell shocked that, okay, wait, I got to pay my car note or I got to buy these, buttons or whatever it is that you're making, and it's like, well, and that's a real decision. And it sucks when that's a decision that you have to make and you're a parent or you got someone else relying on you, but it's reality. And I had to make those decisions several times, especially in the beginning. But if you are someone who is risk averse if you are someone who is a risk taker and can understand that that's going to happen, then I definitely think that you should attempt entrepreneurship because it's the only way to ensure that you have an unlimited potential in income. And it's a super gratifying feeling to once your company starts to grow and you kind of hit your stride and you see like, okay, I was grinding this out for 3 years or 4 years, and to see like the people who like the reviews that people leave about our products and how they literally say like they've changed their life. You know what I mean? Like that is there's no feeling better than that. Like the only feeling better than that is when your kid brings home like a straight A report card. Like other than that, there's no better feeling. And it's like, I did that, so if you have that wherewithal, then absolutely, definitely go for it. Don't delay it. Don't second guess it. Just do it and figure it out as you go along. But if you're not that person, which is completely okay, then don't feel pressured just because everybody else is saying that you should.
Okay. Just have a few more questions. You have Pitchproof. You don't talk about that. At least I haven't heard it being brought up much. What is Pitchproof about? And yeah.
So Pitchproof is a company that I started with my partner, Brian Williams. He and I would attend a lot of pitch competitions, and we would notice that we were the only two of color that was routinely at these things. And it was like, what is going on? Like, why why is no one else coming back? Why are they not pitching again? Like, what's going on? What are they not learning that they need to learn? And so we started to realize that, when we were pitching, you may be on stage with 10 people. You're really only pitching against 2 or 3 because only 2 or 3 really know how to pitch. And so there's an art to pitching, and there's kind of a cadence and a list of things you need to go through when you're pitching, and people would do it all wrong. And then they would get discouraged and they wouldn't show up again. And we were like, we should teach people how we've done it. Collectively, we had both won over like $300,000 in pitch competitions, which is a great way to fund your business because it doesn't require you to take out a loan or pay any interest. And it also doesn't require you to give up any equity in your business. So you're basically getting almost like a grant for your business that you don't have to pay back. And you don't even have to report what you're using the money for. You should be using it for your business, but look, if your mortgage is behind, you use the money to pay your mortgage, or whatever. But nevertheless, it's a fantastic way to grow your business. And so he and I came together and decided to create Pitchproof. Now, Pitchproof, the reason you haven't heard much about it recently is because we've kind of put it on hold. The demand for Pitchproof had gotten so large that it was hard for me to manage. And Naturalicious was growing very rapidly at the same time. And Naturalicious has always been the priority. So it was kind of hard to grow both at the same time. Also, he lives in DC. I live in Detroit. So that posed a bit of a challenge when we were both trying to grow our regular businesses on top of Pitchproof. And then Brian's got some other stuff that he's working on also. So we've kind of put it on hold for the time being. And then we hope to kind of bring it back once we've kind of got some things with our main businesses more aligned and organized.
Of course. Is Naturalicious the end goal?
You mean like keeping it forever versus selling it? Is that what you mean?
What?
Yeah, I love what I do, and I love the community that I've built and how I help people feel better about themselves. Not just through the hair products, which again for me is the tool. Because really what I feel like I'm selling, I'm not even selling hair products. I'm selling confidence. And not just confidence in how you look, but confidence in just understanding your hair. Because most of us at, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, we're relearning what to do with our hair, right? And like I said, we've been natural for 5-10 years sometimes, and we still don't know what to do. And we're still struggling with the twist out, which is crazy. And so I'm selling confidence in not just feeling good about your hair, but feeling good because you can go to the salon and feel good about your hair, right? But feeling good about your hair because you know what to do with it, and you know that these are the type of ingredients I need in order to achieve this sort of hair for myself. And knowing that as a customer is powerful because then puts you in the driver's seat where it doesn't matter what product you use because you know what it is that you actually need. And so that's really what I'm selling. And so my products are the tool to create that confidence for people. And so I would say to that end, yes, Naturalicious is the end goal. I can't predict the future. I can't say, if, I don't know, Tristan Walker's company came along and said, hey, we want to buy you out for $1 billion. I can't say that I'm not going to do it, But I would say that if I were going to sell my company, I would want to sell it to a company like his, which is he's trying to create like the Procter and Gamble of Black brands, and so I would want to sell to him, or even like maybe Sundial Brands or something, which is obviously Black owned also. So
I love it. Before I get to the final question, how can people get in touch with you?
I always invite people to join me in my group on Facebook. It is called Naturalicious Nation. It is super lit in there. People are posted every day. I do I do 2 weekly things. I do a beauty talk Tuesday, and I also do a Real Hair Revelations on Thursdays. Thursdays is a live video, Facebook live video chat where I delve into a specific topic about hair and I just debunk all the myths about that particular topic. It's very well attended, very, very fun time that we have in there. And then Beauty Talk Tuesdays is where I allow people to ask any question they have about their hair or their skin, and I answer them in the comments. And so it's just amazing to see, people getting their orders and posting about it and like using it for the first time because they saw someone else in the group talk about it. So I would invite you to join us in Naturalicious Nation. And that is spelled, Naturalicious is Naturalicious as in Sam. So Naturalicious Nation. Search for that on Facebook. It is a private group. You do have to request access, but if you're nice to everybody, I will let you in. And we have a good time in there. Also, if you're interested in our products, I would invite you to visit the following link, which is bit.ly/cut wash day in half. bit.ly/cut wash day in half. That is our flagship product. It's called the Hello Gorgeous System. And it's a very great introduction into the brand because it allows you to get all the products in our system and really utilize them all. And then you can kind of determine if you like everything or if you like one or two of those products or what have you.
Okay. And I'll have those links in the show notes. The final question, what's your life vision when you think about your legacy?
My son is 6 now, so I want him to, I would love if he took over the company. He works in the company now. He's the chief candy curator, which means that every time someone places an order online, he is in charge of selecting the candy treat that they're going to get. And he stuffs the envelope and he seals it up and he sends a little note. And people just love him. He is extremely popular. If God forbid he misses one package, I'll instantly get an email and they'll say, the candy curator must have been off today because I didn't get my candy, And so he's very popular with it. Anytime I post about him, he gets like all the likes, And so people just love him. So I would love if he eventually took over the company. Even if he doesn't, I am teaching him entrepreneurship now. So he will be equipped to do something in that realm if he wants to. But I would love it if he took over the company. And I would love for Naturalicious to be a legacy brand, kind of like for it to become like a heritage brand that is well known. Everybody uses it, people get it. And it stays in my family. And we continue to hire people for it. I'm very, very proud that when I look at my staff, I see a bevy of beautiful Black women that are in charge of numerous aspects. Our creative department is all Black women. Our social media team is a team of 3 Black women. And we do have one girl on there. She's Australian, but everybody else is Black. When I look at my production team, they are actually all, except for one who's a supervisor, they're all special needs and they're all Black. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I intentionally hire special needs workers from the inner city of Detroit for my production line. And it's like, we are so Black owned and so Black operated. And it's like, it's amazing to me because it wasn't like I was like, I'm only going to hire Black people. That wasn't the case, but it just happened that these amazing African Americans were the best qualified. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's so cool to see that, to see us doing it like that. So yeah, I think that would be my legacy, to continue to pour into our community and make sure that we are providing us jobs and keeping our companies in our communities, and growing us economically like that.
I love it. It's beautiful. I admire you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on all of your success. And I'm glad we're friends because now I can follow your success.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
so good to meet you at TFG.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Remember, I believe in you. A personal connection leads to an influential network. So thanks for networking with Michelle.